Hey guys, it's Jamie, bringing you recovery-inspired hope. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jamie Tall. Today I have my very, very good friend Christian with me today, and we are going to be talking about my new series, which is called Strong Women in Recovery. So being a woman in recovery has its own set of challenges and issues.
Yeah.
So why don't we start? How about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, my name is Christian, and I am a person in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is that I haven't used any mood or mind-altering substances in the past 4 years. And what that has given me is the opportunity to be a daughter again, the opportunity to be a sister, to be a student. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. And it's just opened up so many different opportunities in my life today. I've been using from a very young age, from the time that I was 11 to the time that I was 23. So all that I had known throughout my childhood was to mask my feelings with a substance. It was not the best time in my life. I went through a period in my life where I had a lot of anger and a lot of resentment, not just towards my family, but towards myself and towards God. For the longest time, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in a higher power. And that changed the night that I hit my bottom and I was delivered. You know, I was no longer myself, and that was an eye-opener for me, because I felt God's presence there with me to get me through that night, and the faith that my family had to get me through that difficult time. So we all know how drug use is and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's just been wonderful to see my mom grow in her recovery.
Now, for those of you who don't know, I just did an interview with her mom a couple weeks ago, Miss Sandy Gearin.
Yeah. And just to see her grow in her recovery and what she's done with the other women.
Yes.
And my brother and my sister as well. You know, they had both overdosed on heroin, and thankfully they survived that ordeal, and now they're on their own recovery journey. And they're both married, and they have 2 beautiful baby girls that I get to spend time with and spoil. So I don't know, right now for me, I'm in my maintenance phase of my recovery, and I always have to stay grateful and have a grateful attitude and never forget where it was that I came from.
And how long do you have sober?
4 years. June 5th, I celebrated 4 years.
Yay! 4 years. Awesome. So tell me about what specific pathway worked for you. I always try to tell people, whatever worked for you, do more of it. So what was yours?
So my experience was coming into the rooms, the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, and finding a sponsor and working the 12 steps of recovery. It worked for me. The first time I worked the steps, it was for my issue with drugs and alcohol. And then the second time I worked my steps, I found that it was to target those behavioral issues that I found associated with my drug use, because it just wasn't enough for me to stop the drinking and stop the using. I had to target those behavioral issues that I had.
Right.
Because I can remember a time where even though I hadn't used anything, I acted out on old behaviors. An example of that was I had met somebody in recovery. We were seeing each other. best relationship I had for 3 months. And then unfortunately the relationship ended, and it hurt a lot. So what I ended up doing was going back to my ex, which was not good, which was not healthy.
Yes.
And it's being able to recognize those behaviors that are important to me now, because today I no longer have the desire to use anything. It's more so I don't want to revert back to that individual that I used to be.
Right. Absolutely. And, relationships, I find, I also had done a series about relationships in recovery. And, for me, it's so hard. Like whenever I get my heart involved with someone, which hence is why I'm still single, I just if anything happens, I will want to get drunk. You know what I mean? So I'm still not at that place yet. So it's important to be aware of where you're at in your recovery, like where you are at with your boundaries and your personal limits, and to know what your triggers are before you try to get into a relationship, because I see relationships taking women out and men out all the time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's something that I do see a lot. I'm actually very fortunate to be able to work at the same place that my mom works at. She's the lead women's coordinator at the Palm House Recovery Center, and I get to be her assistant.
Yay,
women's
Palm
coordinator.
House. Yay, Palm House.
Yes.
Shout out.
That place means the world to me, because it gave me the opportunity to have my family back in my life. But yeah, that is something that's common that I see a lot.
Yes.
That people get into relationships way too soon. They don't give themselves enough time to actually work on themselves and work on, their own issues. Because I believe wholeheartedly that before a healthy relationship can even be established, be that intimate, family, friendships, anything like that, you must first learn how to have a healthy relationship with yourself.
Absolutely. Know what you like, know what you don't like. And also if you get in, I know sponsors say like, oh, wait till you're a year or wait till you're done with the steps. And in my experience, I bucked on that pretty much every time until one time I had dated somebody and my sponsor told me not to do it. And I did it anyway. And they ended up, when we broke up, they ended up going back out, and they didn't come back in for like 2 years, and I couldn't help. And I know, of course, it's not my fault because we can't ever keep somebody from going back out. But I feel like if I had been investing in myself and worrying about myself and caring about that person's recovery more than my instant gratification, then, that maybe wouldn't have happened. So, and also I feel like it cheats you out of the time that you could be investing in yourself, because it's like when I finally did, after that incident had happened, I finally surrendered to my sponsor, like, okay, no relationships, you win. And for 18 months, I was nothing, no dating, no talking, no nothing, and it was in that time that I was able to start my business and get a car and save up the money to move into this townhouse, you know what I mean? Because I had finally invested in myself. I feel like, especially as women, we're always like trying to invest in our relationships, and we just pour out ourselves, you know what I mean? And then when it doesn't work, we're like,
devastated.
Devastated. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good point that you make, because I feel like people don't know how to prioritize themselves.
Yeah.
And put their needs first. That, I encourage the women all the time, set goals and reach for things that you want to do. Because I never thought in a million years that I would be working in a recovery center, that I would be going to school, trying to get my LCSW, which is licensed clinical social work. As well, I'm want to work towards getting a PhD in the social work field.
Yes.
So I never, and it all goes back to I'm investing that time in myself, and I know what my priorities are at this time.
Right.
So.
Right. And we have to believe that we are worth investing that time in. And I always tell my girls too that I work with, dream big. When you set these goals, I don't want to see like these little goals of like, I want to get a job, I want to get a car. That's going to happen. If you stay in recovery and keep doing the next right thing, that's going to come. Like, I want to see some big goals. Like, what are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What are things that you really need faith to move a mountain to be able to do?
Yes, that's wonderful.
So tell me why you believe it's important to speak out about recovery.
It's just tremendous, just because of the field that I'm in. I'm working towards being a social worker. There's so much stigma that surrounds addiction. There's so much misinformation that surrounds addiction.
Absolutely.
And if people would be more willing to come forth and speak about their, testimonies and their trials and tribulations and their success, like, that would open so many doors for so many other people who are finding it difficult. It's we've gotten better, but it's still something that's looked down upon, and I tell the women that I work with all the time, just because you are a person that's struggling with addiction, that does not stop you from going after the things that you want to go after in life. Like, yes, this is a part of your past, this is a part of who you are, but it doesn't define you.
Right.
And if more people talked about it, it become more normalized.
Right.
People could get the help that they need.
Absolutely. I always say that when I started speaking out about recovery, when I lost my anonymity, that's when my chains of guilt and shame were broken, and I became empowered and proud of who I was and the things I accomplished, because I feel like the more the people who are, especially women who go through recovery, they are successful. They get good jobs, they get their kids back, they get families, they get houses, they have amazing careers, they're very successful. It's like nobody sees them anymore. It's kind of like they disappear, because we then are just like everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like what people think people in recovery look like. I'm not out there holding a sign today, you know what I mean? And I am not out here trying to come up with some kind of like retail scam to get some money or trying to, steal my parents' jewelry to pawn it. I'm not doing that stuff today. So when people think about what does it look like, I feel like that criminal side is where they go to, or that side of like unhealthiness, and we're out here throwing needles on the ground, you know what I mean? And it's like when people come into recovery, you almost don't recognize them anymore. We slip through the cracks almost, because we're there right next to you, picking up our kids in the car line at the school. We're, your social workers. We're your accountants. We're your massage therapists. Like, you would never know.
Yeah. So,
yes, it's so important for us to say, hey, this is what recovery looks like.
Yes, most definitely. I agree. 100%. Because it is. You are right. People slip through the cracks when they're doing the right things, and it's kind of like the people who are successful in their recovery, they just kind of don't want to talk about it anymore, because they're like, that's in my past, I don't want to have to deal with that. But it's important for individuals to step forward and speak about it, because that helps the newcomer.
Yes.
that helps the
Absolutely.
families of the newcomer.
Yes, absolutely. And it shows them about goals, like dreams can come true.
They sure
You
can.
know? Yes, absolutely. I never thought in a million years that I would ever wake up happy. You know,
Yeah.
the whole reason that I came into recovery, that I made the decision, was because I was tired of waking up every day pissed off that I woke up. You know?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yes. So today I get to wake up happy, you know, and it's such an amazing, peaceful, you know, experience. So tell me, what advice would you give to a woman who is considering recovery, or maybe wants to but's not sure about it?
Wants to but is not sure about it. I would say, you know, give it a shot and be easy on yourself. You know, take it easy on yourself, because we are our own worst critics. We feel like we don't deserve that happiness,
Yes.
and being content and being okay in our skin. You know, for me, one of the most important lessons that I learned through my recovery journey is that not only did I learn how to love myself again, but I also learned how to love that person that I used to be. I'm okay with that past version of myself, because it is who I am. It is a part of my
Yes.
journey.
Absolutely.
And this is just a stepping stone. Everything is temporary, and the only constant in life is change.
Yes. So true. So true.
And just take it a day at a time. Things do get easier with time. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy all the time, but it's going to be worth it. It is. So that just try it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who watched. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jamie Tall, and we will be here next time for your next episode of Recovery Inspired Hope. Christian, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Jamie.
Bye.
Bye.